Hey, how's it going? This is Steve Garcia. That's my Indian name, otherwise known as SDAIHC Cultural. That's why they call me Steve. I am the Black Star-Eyed Eagle. That's my Hunkapi name, my adopted name from the Oglala people when I was younger. But my bloodline is the Tongva people, Tehilvit from Los Angeles. And my Nana is Mescalero Apache, and Yaqui from Sonora. And here I am to talk to the people today. So what we're doing today is basically introducing the people to our stories, our ways of stories, the way the elders taught us moralistically, and within the parameters of keeping the people all in that circle. And so they asked me to come talk story today. So being raised in Hawaii, that's what we called it, talk story. And I was raised over there from the time I was 5 till I was 17. And it was a beautiful childhood, hence the Aloha shirt. But being also Pacific people from Pimu, Catalina Island, the Blue Dolphin people. This is the reason why I wear my Pacific Islander shirt. So today I'd like to give some stories. Let me see, the first one I'll talk about is a long time ago, well, this is sage, but a long time ago there was this plant, and the people would love to go down to the water and swim and get in the water and bathe and have recreational fun times. But this one plant, it was if they bumped into it or touched it or stepped on it, it was highly poisonous, and the people would become ill or sick and die. And this plant, it loved the people, so it was really upset that it had all this poison in it, that it would hurt the people. And so, you know, the people weren't really paying attention, and they needed to really look for this plant. So the plant asked the spirit, said, "Creator, why did you give me so much poison? I don't like all this poison. Can you get rid of it?" And they come to look at my flowers, and they step on the vine, and it kills them. It's not good. And so the Creator said, "I'll get back to you." And so the Creator came back to the plant and told the plant, "You can give your medicine away, that poison." And so the plant asked the little beings, the little animals, the little critters, "Hey, can you guys get together in council and figure out who can get this poison?" And the little ones were very happy about this because they're always overlooked. They're getting stepped on, they're getting squished, and so they got together, and the first one to speak up was a wasp. And the wasp said, "I'll take some of this poison." And they said, "This way I can sting the people when they get too close. You know, they're always stepping on it." He said, "But I'll need a buzz so I can warn them that this poison is strong." And so then the bumblebee, the bee heard that, and the bee said, "That's good, wasp. I'll take some of that poison. And I'll need that buzz too, but I'll only use this poison if I need to, and I'll die if I use this poison, so I'll use it wisely." Because wasps can sting you many times, but a bee stings you once and it's going to die. And so the spider got some, and the rattlesnake spoke up. Said, "Hey, I need some of this poison. I'll take the rest." But the rest, that's a lot of poison. Yeah. And the cottonmouth said, "No, I need some of that poison because I'm in the water too. But I'll let the people know that I'm very poisonous when I open my mouth. It's bright white, and so they'll know to stay away." So okay. So then the rattlesnake said, "I'll take the rest." And when the rattlesnake said he would take the rest, reach over here. He said, "I'll make that sound. And this will warn the people that I'm very poisonous, and so they will leave me alone." And so this is how the poison came into the world for these animals. And it's pretty interesting that they do this to warn you, to let you know, pay attention. And so that's how the little animals got their poison, and the critters, the spiders and the bees. Be careful where you step. Next.
Very good.
And that was Ivan's rattle. He taught me how to make that. So Go right into the next one because you guys said you're going to be breaking this up.
Yes.
Right? All right, cool. So, okay, this next story. Let me think of a good one. Ah, I got it. Long time ago, Mrs. Coyote, Mrs. Coyote lived next to Mr. Bones. Mr. Bones, the skeleton. And that's the way it was. He lived next door to her, she lived next door to him. And one day, she's walking around looking for food. You know how coyotes are always looking around and look up, see what's going on. So one day she was looking around for food. She hears this noise. She walks over to Mr. Bones' house. The skeleton is, what is he doing? And he's out there. And he's drumming and singing. Brought my little drumstick, so it's just a small song. So he's out there singing away, facing the south. He's yeah, 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 yeah. All of a sudden, boom! His eyeballs popped out of his head, and they flew away. This coyote sat down, and she's watching this. She's like, "What the heck am I watching?" He's standing there, and his hands are going around, and he's all, and so he stood there, and he faced the south, and all of a sudden, his eyeballs flew back into his head. And she's like, "Wow, Mr. Bones." And he said, "Oh, hey, Mrs. Coyote, how you doing?" She goes, "I'm good, but what was that about?" And he said, "Oh, when I sing my song, my eyes, they travel to the south. And they look around." And he said, "And you have to face the south." He says, "And I saw this canyon, and they had all these small deers, and gophers, and rabbits, and squirrels." Oh, Mrs. Coyote's mouth is watering, and she said, "I need to go find that canyon." She said, "I have hungry kids." And he says, "Well," he said, "I'm going to teach you that song. It's easy. Anybody can do it." She said, "I could do that." And he said, "Okay." He says, "So make sure you face the south when you do this, and you sing that song, and you remember those words." And he said, "But you have to face the south, so when your eyeballs come back." So Mrs. Coyote said, "I can do that. I can do that." So she went home, and she grabbed her drum, and she's facing the south, and she's like, sure enough, poof, her eyeballs flew out. And they went flying. And all of a sudden, she's listening and she's looking. And she's like, "Oh my goodness, look at all that." And she's, "Oh, I got to remember where this canyon is." And so she's looking around and she faces the east. And she's like, "Wow, look at over there." And then she turns, she faces the west. And she's like, "Oh, look at those rabbits." And then she faces the north. And she's like, "Oh my goodness, squirrels and gophers." She was so happy. So she's standing there, and she's waiting, and she's waiting. She's like, "Come on, eyeballs." She's waiting. "Eyeballs." No eyeballs. She's like, "Huh." So she grabs her drum, and she's singing, "Oh yeah, 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 yeah." Her eyeballs aren't coming back. So, what's going on? And so she was facing north. She was supposed to be facing south. You have to listen to instructions. That's the key. So she's waiting, and she's, okay, they must have flown past me and fallen on the ground. So she goes trotting over. She reaches down, looking for her eyeballs. She finds one, but it's attached to something. She yanks it off. Okay. She pops it in. She goes, "Okay, got one." She's reaching around. She's hitting the ground. She finds another one, same shape. Pulls it out. There you go. She goes, "I found my eyeballs." So she went trotting back to tell her kids about this canyon with all the gophers and rabbits and little deers. And her mouth was watering just thinking about all that food. And so she goes looking for her kids, and they were all scattered about, coyotes. And so they're looking on the ground, and they go, "Hey, you guys, I found some food. We got to go to this canyon." And so they're like, "What?" And they look up. And there's her mom. She had pulled 2 gourds off of the vines. She got these big yellow eyes and scared the heck out of her kids. And so now when you look at coyotes, that's why they have yellow eyes. That's the story of how coyotes got their yellow eyes. And their kids scattered all over the place. They don't stay in one group. They're all over the place. You'll hear them at night. They're looking for their eyeballs. And now, what do we go into? What should we talk?
Coping strategies and wellness.
Coping strategies and wellness. Yeah, this is a big part of life nowadays. You know, how do we cope with what we have to do in life? And this is where a lot of our old ways come in. You know, with the indigenous people. And if you weren't taught those ways, you can still find people that know those ways, can teach you those ways. You ask the elders. If you don't have grandparents, you ask somebody else's grandparents, aunties, uncles, people within your own tribe or people outside of your tribe. We all share our stories. That's the way we were. We were the circle of people. We shared our stories and we shared our ways. And with that, you know, I always tell people, burn your sage. You know, and they're finding out, the scientists are finding out that that sage kills 99% of the bacteria that's floating in the air. You know, I just picked some fresh sage yesterday, and I put down the tobacco first. Always bring your tobacco pouch, and put some tobacco on the ground for you, and thank the spirits for taking care of you. And oh, I love the smell of sage, and it helps me. You know, when I burn the sage, I play my flute, draw, paint, beadwork. All these things are helping you to put you in the now, you know, because thinking about things too much takes time, takes energy, and it takes you back. It takes you away from what you're doing now. How are you feeling now? And even if you're sick now, the best things to do are to take care of yourself now, to use those teas, those medicine songs, medicine ways. You can even learn songs, new ways. Yeah, Ivan Sam showed me how to make this rattle at a men's health conference. And I always wanted to make one. I knew I wasn't going to buy one. And then that day I showed up and I was like one of the last guys there. And he said, go pick out a gourd and grab a stick and I'll show you what to do. He showed me how to hollow it out, carve it, fit it in just right. And I still want to put some decorations on it. But our people here in California, my dad's people up in LA, the Kumeyays down here, I'd like to acknowledge the Kumeyays because I'm sitting on Kumeyaay land right now. Underneath all this building and everything is the sacred ancient land of these people. They've been here for so long. And this center right here is overlooking the city, Kumeyaay City, Kumeyaay Village, Kumeyaay Bay. And so I'd like to say Hauka, the Eahan to my Kumeyaay relatives and friends. With my dad's people, we use clapper sticks up in Los Angeles. And that brings you right into now as you sing those songs. Still learning more about those ways on that side. Learning more about my Apache ways, my Yaqui ways. I know so much about the adopted people, my Oglala Lakota people, and a lot of their teachings and stories and songs. That's why we tell a lot of Coyote stories. Coyote was that moralistic, unmoralistic, he went about playing tricks on people. Coyote and spider are interchangeable that way. That's why when I find spiders in the house, I don't kill them. I trap them and take them outside. So thank you for the message, and I'll keep alert, keep aware. And, coping with today. I mean, what do we mean about coping with today? You know, I hear they got us wearing masks. I don't even get to be the Lone Ranger. It's down here. It's not on my eyes. Hey, so we're all tonto with a mask on now. So, but as I said, find something to do. Artwork, painting, beadwork, drawing, cooking, planting, gardening. All these things we're going to be teaching and talking about and learning from the people out there. You know, don't forget to click on the button below there and give your input what you think we should be talking about, learning about, interacting with. And that's the biggest part about it. That's why it's a circle. If you're not interacting, you're outside just watching. And get in here, talk about it. This is how we keep ourselves together. You look at everything, that drum, that heartbeat. That is a circle. There's like Tommy's web too. Dream catching. That orb is the earth. That is the circle. Everything is in circles. Not everything. There's a lot of geometric designs, sacred geometry too. And, think of another story. It's all about keeping alert and paying attention to your surroundings. Always paying attention to your surroundings. And my friends, they notice whenever I go somewhere, I look in every 4 directions and even above me. And I look at the ground too. And I always check myself. Directions, always check with yourself before you go anywhere. And thinking about this story, here comes Coyote again. This guy's, he's a trickster, man. He's always up to something. So Coyote's walking through the woods one day, and he hears all this noise, like singing and such. What is that? So he goes down there, and sure enough, there by the lake are these big geese. And he's like, oh my goodness, I'm so hungry. I want one of those geese. And he said, yeah, I want a couple of those geese. But how am I going to get close? They always spot me and they run away. And so Coyote's trying to think, how am I going to do this? Oh, hang on. So he ran around, he's looking around, and he finds an old bag somebody left. A woven bag by the creek. He's like, oh, somebody forgot their bag here. So he picks it up and throws it over his shoulder. And he's walking with his stick like he's all old and feeble. And he's walking by and one of the geese go, Coyote, Coyote! He looks over and, yeah, he's walking. They're like, well, he's not paying attention to us. And he goes, that's not much of a coyote. And so they started laughing at him. Huh? Well, no, go about your business. Oh. And he's walking and they're like, hey, what do you have in that bag, Coyote? He goes, oh, that's a secret. And they said, oh, come on, what's in the bag, Coyote? And he says, something really special. I'll show you, but you guys gotta line up and dance. You gotta dance and sing. Whoever dances and sings the best for this can get to see what's in this bag. And they're like, And so he goes, all right. He goes, all you big ones up front. He goes, who's the biggest one? Come up here. And he's like, get out of the way. So he pushed up to the front. And he said, all right, you guys line up. And he said, and then goes all the way down to the skinny little ones in the back. So they're not really paying attention, There's a coyote with a stick in a bag. So they start singing. He's drumming on the log and singing away. Well. Sure enough, man, they're flapping their wings. He's all, dance harder, make as much noise as you can. And so they're pounding, they're flapping, they're stomping their feet, honk, and they're not listening. And sure enough, this strange accent beat, boom, and then drumming goes back on, and boom, and it's always that little skinny runt in the back that opens one eye. And he told them, he said, you cannot open your eyes because your eyes will turn red if you cheat. If you try and see, if you try and cheat, your eyes are going to turn red. So that little one opens one eye and he notices, hey, he's killing us. He's hitting us in the head and stuffing us in the bag. Fly away, fly for your lives. And they're all honk, flying away. And that guy was like, oh, it's always that little one, man. Sure enough, if you look at those geese to this day, they have red eyes. And that's how they got those red eyes. Next. What do we need here?
Maybe share something about coping strategies for today's COVID-19 crisis.
Yeah.
People are isolated. How can we be able to touch with them? by practicing safekeeping and also making relationships with their families and continue to have, focusing on self-care.
All right. Oh, is there thunder outside? Okay. All right. What we're going to talk about now is today, as I said earlier, coping strategies with COVID-19, coronavirus, whatever they want to call it. I can see why they call it corona, because it looks like a crown when you look at it. But here again, this coincides with how we take care of the earth, and how we take care of ourselves, and paying attention to our thoughts. Because a lot of times our thoughts will manifest into unease. When they say disease, it's dis-ease. It means you're not feeling right at the moment. So you have to really talk yourself into feeling better. Not get caught up in all the... True, this is a pandemic, which means, yes, it's caused death, mostly in the elderly, which is really sad because we need our elderly. They're the ones who hold the stories. I'm coming up on 60, so I'm one of those elders. Never thought I'd say that. But yeah. The way to cope with it is to really, as I always say, check in with yourself. How are you really feeling? As aside from what are you telling yourself? You have to tell yourself good things when you wake up. We need to talk better to ourselves. Sometimes we talk to ourselves worse than we would talk to anybody else. We have to encourage ourselves. Go outside and pick a little piece of mint. That's encouragement. We need to, if you have to, dress up nicely. I've noticed girls getting into their makeup, still doing their makeup like they're going out. Hey, you're going in, but you're going out. You need to project to yourself positive feedback on your own endeavors of what you're doing. People say, oh, I can't do that. Well, it takes practice. It takes a lot of practice in doing anything. I couldn't draw for beans when I was a kid. My brothers and sisters were good artists. And now they're like, oh my goodness, some of the artwork you do. And that's what I'm talking about as far as coping with, try not to watch as much news. It's pretty hard to stay away from all the social media on the negative side because it's a bombardment. It's a constant. Take that time to go away from, here I am talking on social media, but I'm doing it in a positive note. Use your social media, your Facebook, your messengers, your things like that for a positive thing. You go on YouTube and look at positive things. I look at so much surf and powwow, it isn't funny. Kids nowadays, I tell them, you are so lucky to have the social media to learn things this way. And there's stories out there. I'm starting to realize that you can click on things. And as I said, I'm coming up on 60, so I'm still learning things each day. Plan on learning how to use the technology. In the beginning, they were using charcoal sticks to draw on walls, and then somebody came out with paint, and they said, "Hey, that's not real." Yes, it is. Any medium is to be used in the right way. Grandpa told me, learn their ways as well as ours. It's important. Otherwise, we'd be stuck. It's good to be traditional. It's really good to be traditional because those ways belong to the next generations. But it's also good to learn. As I say, children teach your parents well, like that old song. Because I asked my daughter, which key do I push? So as far as coping, go to the adults and show them things. And adults, turn around and tell the kids, okay, give me a few minutes or some time to talk to you about certain things that I've learned. I know a lot of the kids nowadays, they won't talk to the older people, the uncles, the aunts, even brothers and sisters, because they don't know anything. They know everything. They've been around how many years now? I always tell the kids when I was doing story times at the down at the Mission Trails. I was talking to third graders. They have some of the most interesting questions that they want to ask. But I always ask them, how old are you now? And they're yelling, 8, 9. So in like another year, you'll be 10. Another 2 years, you'll be 10. They're all, yeah. Went by pretty quick. Where will you be in 10 years? In 10 years, I'm going to be 70. When I think 10 years back, wow. So a 10-year-old in 10 years is going to be 20 years old. What will you have learned? What will you have mastered? They say it takes 10 years to master anything. So in 10 years, what will you have mastered? What is your passion? If you're an artist, hone those skills every day. If you're a culinary artist, hone those skills every day. And you'll be sought after. I have a friend who was just a surfer. Hey, that takes skill. He became a chef. His parents sent him to France. He spent quite a few years in France, and now he's a very high-paid chef in Hawaii, and he's still a surfer. So that's what I'm talking about. Find something to take you out of the pandemic panic. You're still here. You're still alive, and they'll find a way to take care of this too quickly. But as they tell us, if it weren't for Kathy, and I praise her a lot because she knows a lot of the plant medicines. She's been studying those for years, and she is very knowledgeable in plant medicine. Everything that we need is already here, already was here. It takes man to manipulate everything around us. The cement we're on, the metal we're on, but it was all taken from the earth. Every element that they've manipulated is taken from the earth. So the carbon is the same. And this is what I mean about sharing that circle. We come from this star, we come from this earth, we come from this dirt. We breathe the same air, we swim in the same waters, we see the same skies. If we're very fortunate, a lot of people don't have that fortune of hearing or sight or taste or smell or feel. I see a lot of people out there, and one thing you don't want to do to cope with this is drugs or alcohol, because that's not a way to cope. That's a way to block it out, to blank it out, to blank yourself out. But when you wake up, it's still there. And that's not coping. That's poisoning yourself. That is dis-ease and causing yourself even further harm. And you don't want to go that direction. You want to go more towards the positive direction. And I understand, because not everybody knows. A person can look perfectly normal and have situations inside that they're dealing with. If you have to deal with something, deal with it right now. Cry right now. Because if you squash it and bury it, it's going to rise back up. And then you're going to have to figure out a way to get rid of it that way. Go to the elders and look for healing. Go to the old ceremonies and look for healing. You go to the psychologists. That's what they've spent 10 years doing, is learning rebalancing techniques. I don't like to use the word healing so much. I like to rebalance, because you're already whole, you're already complete. And when I see people out there on the streets, and I understand them, and I tell them, I know your situation where you're at is because you can't function in this day of society, in this way, in the ways that they throw at you. Some people aren't equipped that way. And so learn ways to cope with this, and understand yourself as well as your friends. Ask them. Ask yourself. Check in with yourself. Ask them, what's the situation? Write it down. Is it that big of a situation? What do I do to remedy this situation? And so there's so many coping skills out there. Learn. If you need to just go sit outside and breathe the air and look up at the skies, look at the stars. Nobody looks at the stars anymore as much. That was the TV back then. That's why astronomers and astrologists knew the weather patterns and the growing patterns and when to do things. That was our TV. The earth was our entertainment, the animals and such. They'll teach you a lot. They'll show you the medicine plants. Go watch National Geographic, because that's as close as you're going to get, trying to get out of the house now. They're starting to open up. Businesses They're starting to open up places, but be careful. You know, if it's not ready, it's gonna backfire. But we don't want that to happen. So keep your masks on. Careful what you touch. Ever since I was little, my dad said, be careful what you pick up. You know, lava sus manos. I see it on the signs, and I said, what does that say? It says, wash your hands. Always wash your hands. You know, I was never really phobic, but after touching things, wash your hands, because if you're touching your face, you know, it's gonna affect you. And I've touched poison ivy when I was younger. Found out what poison sumac was. How? You know. And yeah. Thank you.